What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taipei is demanding more information after China confirmed it's holding a 22-year-old Taiwanese man on fraud charges. It's the latest in a series of cases involving Taiwanese nationals being detained across the strait. Reese Ayers is live for us in Taipei. Reese, Taiwan has made it clear it's not happy, but what is it asking for?
Well, Yvonne, Taiwan is looking for answers, as China has not been very transparent about this case. It actually took Taiwan actively requesting details about the man's whereabouts before China even confirmed that they were holding him, detained on accusations of fraud, and without any further details. Now, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council is asking China to expand on those accusations, and they're expressing dissatisfaction at China's lack of communication. Piecing together details from the man's friends and family and from what China has been drip feeding to Taiwan, we know that he's a 22-year-old recent graduate surnamed Guo, and that he traveled to Shanghai at the end of August with 2 other people, disappearing soon after arrival. Now, the man's sister has said that he told her that he was heading for Anhui province, which is just west of Shanghai, but her suspicions were aroused when her brother told her he'd arrived in Shanghai, but did so using Instagram's disappearing message function. The man's mother reportedly only found out about her son's disappearance from the news, and this morning defending her son against those accusations of fraud, saying that he would only get involved if he was forced to. Now, concerned that Mr. Guo may have been involved in a job-seeking scam, Taiwan's authorities are treating this case as a case of human trafficking. This is by no means the first instance of a Taiwanese person being held in China with little to no info from the Chinese side. There's actually another ongoing case right now with a Taiwanese executive also being held in Shanghai. Now, the timelines of these cases can vary greatly, with some being released after short negotiation periods, others being detained for months or even years, giving us little indication as to what fate awaits Mr. Guo.
Thanks, Reese. That was Reese Ayers reporting live from Taipei. Almost 500 people have been killed in the deadliest day of attacks in Lebanon in decades, with Israel pounding Hezbollah targets in the country in an extensive bombing campaign. Israel warned civilians in Lebanon to move out of harm's way before explosions rung out. Rosie Griniger reports.
Israeli strikes pummel the southern Lebanese coast, with smoke bellowing from the hillside. The relentless barrage came just hours after residents in the area were warned to evacuate.
We advise civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purpose, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way for their own safety. I want to repeat, move out of harm's way immediately.
Roads out of the zone were packed with cars, with many people travelling towards the capital Beirut, which is also being impacted by Israel's assault. Residents describing chaos as they tried to get out of harm's way.
نحن صار ضرب ركبنا سيارة وضلينا جايين وما بنعرف شيء ورانا ايش فيه والله ما بنعرف
ضرب طيران خرايب رزاي زرارية فما ضل حدا بالعام كلنا نسكت.
The Israeli military said it struck about 1,300 positions of the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah. They claim to target members hiding among civilians with precise intelligence-based strikes, but the result hasn't been without civilian casualties. Most of the bombs landed southeast of the Lebanese city Sidon, but Israel also struck areas 150 kilometers into the country, claiming the lives of around 500 people, including women and children. Lebanese officials say it's the country's highest daily death toll from violence since the 1975 to 1990 civil war, and it's expected to rise.
الحصيلة الحالية لأنه للأسف الوضع لا يزال يتطور هلا في اعتداءات عم تصير في منطقة البقاع.
Hezbollah and Israel have been trading daily fire since the outbreak of war in Gaza on October 7th, 2023, as the militant group stands in solidarity with Hamas, who are fighting Israel in the enclave. Tensions here escalated last week when thousands of communication devices used by Hezbollah militants exploded over 2 days. Israel's reasoning for this latest bombardment: to stamp out Hezbollah rocket sites.
Hezbollah has been using you as human shields. It placed rockets in your living rooms and missiles in your garage. Those rockets and missiles are aimed directly at our cities, directly at our citizens. To defend our people against Hezbollah strikes, we must take out those weapons.
Hezbollah responded by launching hundreds of rockets and drones into Israel, vowing to continue their campaign until there is a ceasefire in Gaza. While Israel has not ruled out a ground invasion, increasing fears this could trigger an all-out war in the Middle East region, and leaving world leaders calling for de-escalation.
There is no military solution that will make either side safer. With the well-being of civilians on both sides of the blue line and the stability of the region at stake, space must be given for diplomatic efforts to succeed.
But with both Israel and Hezbollah continuing to trade blows, this situation is expected to further escalate. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
China's central bank has announced stimulus measures to fight deflation and disappointing economic performance. It plans to reduce the amount of cash banks need to hold in reserve, freeing up around $140 billion for banks to lend. It's also cutting mortgage rates and the central bank's own lending rate. Chinese stocks and bonds rose after the announcement. Depending on the situation later in the year, interest rates for loans may be lowered even more. Tackling scam groups is a constant challenge for Taiwan's police as new cons emerge all the time. But there's a new strategy afoot that could cut scammers off from one of their favorite tools. John Van Trieste reports.
A raid on this office turns up evidence of a scam that swindled 18 mostly older people out of a cool $6 million worth of property. Police suspect the notary who drew up the legal documents involved may have been in on the scam. This scam ring may be busted, but Taiwan's fraudsters are a resourceful and determined bunch, siphoning around 1% of GDP per year. But it could soon be much harder for scammers to find victims. The digital ministry is planning new rules on online ads, a favored tool of scam groups.
网络广告平台如果经过通知，它要移除这个大气广告的期限，我们按照一般的是24小时，也跟业者讨论，他们也可以接受。
People who buy ads will also have to register with their real names, making it easy to track them down. And there will be pressure on platforms to comply, with maximum fines of up to $800,000 in extreme cases. Working with scammers could become just too much trouble anyway, because on top of this, platforms will also have to file annual compliance reports. All this may not wipe out scam ads completely, but even if trawling the net for fake ads becomes a cat-and-mouse game, the idea is to make it an expensive and risky one for scammers to keep playing. It's an idea anti-fraud NGOs are behind. Enforcing the rules may not be easy. Finding scam ads early will be key, and police say there may be other challenges.
通常它已经上去，如果说它在这个网络上时间越久的话，那当然了，这个被害人数可能就会增加。通常这个都是用空头的账号啊，或者是在境外的 IP 啊，来注册来做这个申请，挂上这个名义啊，最主要是要下架。
But the aim is to regulate the scams away, using the law to strip criminals of one of their most powerful weapons. The new rules could be enforced by the end of the year, something the government hopes will make a dent in a national problem. Ryan Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
It's been rocky times for Intel, the legacy chip firm which has lost over half of its value this year. Shock offers have come in, including a friendly takeover bid by Qualcomm, as well as a $5 billion private equity investment in attempts to prop up the company. With Intel being the United States' biggest horse in the global race for chip supremacy, the stakes are high. Joyce Sen reports.
Struggling to stay competitive, U.S. semiconductor giant Intel has become a takeover target. Its younger rival Qualcomm has offered a friendly buyout of the 56-year-old company in what could be a historic merger and acquisition deal. It isn't the only player. Private equity firm Apollo, already a partner of Intel's Ireland site, has made a multi-billion-dollar investment offer, a sign of confidence in Intel's turnaround strategy. But industry watchers say it may not be money that Intel needs, but time.
The company has not performed as well as it needs to, but the turnaround is not a short-term turnaround. This is not a quarterly or 6-month or on any Wall Street timetable. This was more than a decade of mistakes that had mounted. It was missing AI. It was falling out of mobile. It was its breakup with Apple. Where if I was the board, I would say somewhere between 3 and 6 more quarters of committing to this plan is going to be the minimum to really understand if a turnaround is there.
As part of the company's turnaround strategy, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger split its core chip design and computer processor businesses from its foundry or chip-making operations, creating a separate entity for the latter to give it its own board and raise its own funding. Intel is at the forefront of the U.S.'s stake in an increasingly politicized chips industry, a sector crucial for advanced tech like AI and national security, and at the heart of Washington-Beijing competition for tech supremacy. Intel is the biggest winner of direct investment from U.S. President Joe Biden's CHIPS Act, the president's signature policy to revive American chipmaking. Intel was granted $8.5 billion in subsidies, a sum that Washington delayed giving amid the company's poor performance.
Intel fails, my worry is the CHIPS Act fails with it. Without Intel on the leading edge, we're not helping. The only other partners are Samsung and TSMC, and they're not American companies.
Chips market analysts are skeptical a Qualcomm takeover will actually happen, given antitrust and regulatory challenges. But there's optimism for Intel finding a way out of its troubles on its own, buoyed by the company's still profitable market share in personal computers.
It's sometimes darkest before dawn. And I genuinely do think that there's a lot of, sharks swimming around Intel right now because it has been really dark. But I actually think they're doing better now than even 2 or 3 years ago, but this all had to fall apart first.
As the company pilots its new strategy, it's already scoring a win, with major customers Microsoft and Amazon committing to keep using Intel-made chips, the legacy firm's ongoing fight to stay competitive, closely watched not just by its shareholders, but also by Washington. Devin Tai and Joyce Sen for TaiwanPlus.
An alligator-like reptile has been lured from a river in southern Taiwan after first being spotted a week ago. It took 3 hours to coax the spectacled caiman out of the Pingtung County River with raw chicken. It's not clear where the 2-meter-long reptile came from, as caimans are not native to Taiwan. But they can be kept as pets without registration, and the area has seen escapes from both breeding centers and private homes in the past. Locals think 5 more caimans may still be loose. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Finally, we take you to Barcelona, where the La Marseille Festival dazzled crowds with its fiery parade over the weekend. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.